Hey, you. Yeah, you. Right there, so I'm gonna be honest with you guys. This is maybe one of the last things I thought I'd be doing today. This is officially the developer update for the next patch. The next huge patch. This might be one of the biggest patches in Dead by Daylight history. This patch is so fucking massive, and not only is there gameplay implication changes, there's perk changes, and this is my first time actually looking over. I saw a tiny bit of it, but this is my first time looking over this. And one of the changes that I saw, this meta is going to be this is going to be the most insane meta swift that we've actually ever had in Dead by Daylight history. But I know what you guys are here for, and we're going to go into this shit. I don't know what to expect. I will have timestamps if you guys want to check something out in particular. But if I feel like something's not very important, I'm probably not going to go over it. So if you guys want to do see all the whole entire patch notes, I'll have it in the description if you guys want to check that out. But nonetheless, you guys want to do this? I want to do this. I don't know what the fuck to expect, to be honest. Let's get into the patch notes. So the first thing they talk about is Overhauled Progression system. So should I read it? Fuck, I'm gonna read it. In the current system, you must reach level 40 on a given character to unlock all their teachable perks. Then find those perks in the blood web of every other character. In order to unlock all the new perks on every character by the time the next chapter releases, you will need to play an estimated average of 4.1 hours every day, and this is with the current system. With the new system, that estimate decreases to an average of 1.01 hours each day, and that's not even factoring blood point bonuses from events, perks, or offerings. That's kinda actually fucking insane. In other words, this is the single largest reduction to grind we've ever made, cutting it by roughly 75%. That's ridiculous. So, on average of 4.1 hours of every day to unlock... Wow, to unlock all the teachables it takes for 4.1 hours, and that's reduced so that's kind of insane. So it's gonna take, 3 hours less to be able to basically prestige your character and unlock all the characters teachable. That's... The biggest problem with Dead by Daylight, I feel like, was definitely the grind, especially for new players trying to level up their characters and unlock new perks. This is definitely, not only is it user-friendly for people that have been playing the game for hours, it's not going to be that big of a change, but this, especially with playing a new character and trying to unlock their teachables, or even getting every single perk in the game, that's absolutely fucking massive. The grind is going to be less, which is just going to be, I think, in my opinion, this is just going to be a good change in general for the game, for the base game, and just be more friendly towards definitely new players. And then they talk about unlocking perks. I actually read this a little bit, and this is the most exciting fucking part. The teachable rarities no more. Now perks are tied directly to prestige. Prestiging a character for the first time will instantly unlock the T1 versions of the unique perks for all killers or survivors. So basically, if you prestige your character once, you get access to all 3 of their teachables for every single character in the game, but only the tier 1 versions of those perks. So making them immediately available for use without ever having to open the blood web, okay? Wait, so they get available, so you really, wow. So you get the versions of those perks without ever having to spend points in the blood web, if I read that correctly. That's kind of fucking insane. So what else do they have? Prestiging a character for the 2nd and 3rd time will unlock the T2 and T3 versions of their unique perks. Alternatively, higher tier versions of the perks will appear randomly in the blood web once the first tier has been unlocked. Wow, so okay, so... Wow, that's weird. So basically, once you prestige your character once, you get the first tier of those teachable perks for that character for other characters immediately, but you can find the other teachable perks, or you can find the higher tier versions of those perks in the blood web, like kind of like the old... kind of like how we have the blood web now, where you have to get the T2 and then T3 versions. So what I'm seeing from this prestige system is basically, when you prestige once, you get the T1 versions of their teachables. You prestige twice, you get the green version, which is the T2 version of his teachables. And if you prestige 3 times, you immediately get access to tier 3 versions of the perks without having to get them in the blood web. Yo. The grind, that makes the game so much less grindy and gives you access to the perks that you actually need to fucking succeed. Especially when new characters come out, you immediately get access to those perks. That's really clutch. I don't know what they're going to be doing with the perks that aren't teachables. Maybe you still have to earn them through the blood web. But this change, especially for the grind, and especially on new characters, this is going to prioritize not only add-ons a lot more, but this is going to cut so much time, dude. Wow, so another thing they're talking about is no more resets. What? Prestiging has always been a bit of a dilemma. Do you give up everything for bragging rights, or do you keep everything you have and minimize the grind? Now that prestiging, wait, what? Now that prestiging is the main way to unlock perks, we wanted to make the choice clear. Prestiging a character will no longer remove their perks, items, add-ons, or offerings. Perk slots will also remain unlocked after prestiging. Wow. Wow, we're fucking playing Call of Duty DBD, basically. So basically, when you prestige, you don't lose any progress you have towards that character. That's clutch. So I wonder if is there a prestige cap? I don't think there's gonna be a prestige cap. So wow. So I guess that's fucking insane. That's gonna actually make me want to prestige my. That gives DBD much more of a grind. And for people that love prestiging, just to have like the prestige icon above, hopefully they have the prestige icon above the character that you're playing, because that'd be insane. Because if that would be so sick, you go into a lobby, you finish the lobby, and you're facing a fucking prestige 35 huntress or something like that. That's a really, really fun change. I think not only does that, I don't know if it increases the grind, but it gives you a motive to continue playing DBD when you're already rank 1 or you're in the red ranks and you're just playing for no reason. That's really sick. Also, they talk about it right here, expanded prestige. With prestige now being the main way to progress, it'll no longer be impressive to have your characters maxed out at prestige level 3. It only made sense to have the way to recognize our most committed players, so we've increased the prestige limit to 100. Wow, so you can prestige 100 times. But what would be more prestige level without rewards? Reaching prestige level 4, 5, and 6 will now award the characters bloody prestige cosmetics, once again satisfying those who went above and beyond. Now that proceeding for the first 3 times awards perks, it only made sense to move these higher. If you've already unlocked these cosmetics, don't worry, we'll be taking them away from you. God damn it. You've earned it. For the completionists, prestige level 7, 8, and 9 will grant... Wait, what? Will grant one of the characters unique perks as charms. Wait, perks as a charm? Also, basically, 7, 8, and 9, you get the teachables as charms. We also wanted to highlight your dedication to your favorite characters, no matter how many times you prestige them. Once a trial is over, your prestige level will now be shown in the space previously occupied by the grades. Those who spend millions of blood points stockpiling add-ons for your favorite characters will now have a way to showcase your hard work to the world. That's sick. So yeah, we're basically playing Call of Duty DBD. Yo, that's actually fucking sick. So I like this. This is so much better than showing like your rank 1 red ranks. This, especially for a character or for people that grind the fuck out of characters, pulls, they can show pretty much their fucking how much they play the character and how much they play the game. That's really sick. So basically, yo, that's gonna make me want to play the game even more than I already do. Because the only reason why you would want to grind is to get to rank 1 and complete the battle pass. There's no other motive after you finish both of that. So this is definitely gonna be really, really sick and definitely make people, especially completionists like myself, want to keep playing the game and continue playing the game just to keep on prestiging. That's sick. Now here's where shit gets actually, well, not too juicy, but it gets thick. The matchmaking incentive. So basically, if I were to read all this, I'd be reading a goddamn poem from 1865. So basically, this is what a lot of streamers were actually talking about doing. So basically, if a killer or survivor, so basically if a role needs more players, they're going to award you bonus blood points depending on how much of a priority it's going to be to get those players. So it ranges from 25% blood points to 100% depending on how needed each side is. And not only that, if you have crossplay disabled, basically it's saying if you have crossplay disabled, it's going to be harder to find a match. Basically what they're saying, so they recommend you turn on crossplay. So I mean, for players that aren't playing on crossplay or doesn't have their crossplay enabled, when this update goes live, you're definitely going to want to enable that shit, because it's going to be longer to get into a match because it's not going to prioritize the new matchmaking. The new matchmaking isn't really going to make a difference if you have crossplay disabled. I'm pretty positive the majority of people have crossplay enabled, so this is going to be sick. And it actually might get me to play Survivor, because I rarely play Survivor because it's just, personally for me, in my opinion, not fun. So I mean, if I'm fucking starving to death on blood points, it kind of gives you an incentive to play Survivor, especially if you're broke. So I mean, that's not too big of a change, but hopefully it gives an incentive, especially when it gets late at night, for a lot of people to play Killer or Survivor a lot more. So this is where things get ridiculously exciting. Shit is gonna get insane. So the generator speeds, I'm actually gonna read, do I wanna read all this? Fuck it, I'm gonna read all this. When looking at the perks most used by killers, there's a very clear trend. Any perks that helps prevent generators from being powered, slowdown perks for short, are favored. Damn right. Corrupt Intervention, Pop Goes the Weasel, Scorch of Pain Resonance, and Hex Ruin are a few notable examples, and each are among the most popular perks. Many players feel like the generators are being powered too quickly without these perks. Yeah. So we knew we needed to take a look at the generators before making any perk changes. Slowdown perks should be an option, but not the only option to stay competitive. First, we've increased the time it takes to power a generator to 90 seconds, up from 80 seconds. So that's a 10-second increase. I don't know the percentages because the math is just going to be fucking hurting my brain. 10 seconds on a gen. This change isn't going to be a very big deal. It's going to be more of a big deal for solo queue survivors than it is for survivor friends. So if they, I haven't read the whole thing yet, but if they do decide to make this change, which it looks like they are, hopefully they adjust the changes to multiple people working on gens, but we still have a fuck ton to read more, so. The time it takes to complete a generator hasn't changed in a long time, but it's clear that they are being powered quicker than we'd like. At least the devs know. By slowing them down slightly, we hope to give killers a bigger window to interrupt survivors, particularly at the beginning of the trial. Second, kicking a generator will instantly remove 2.5% of the maximum progress. Wow. This is technically a nerf to gen tapping. So now you can punish survivors for gen tapping instead of survivors being able to gen tap for free. This is a sick change, but it's going to be even more of a sick change because they did change Pop Goes the Weasel. And I don't know what they did to it. So I mean, this paired up with now Pop Goes the Weasel is going to be absolutely fucking sick, but this 2.5%, while it's not going to be a ridiculous deal, it's going to be sick for punishing gen tapping, but is it going to make too much of a difference? Probably not, but it's just good to have and pretty much a good option to have if they do decide to gen tap. So at least if they gen tap, you don't have to fucking hit it again, and basically they don't get punished for it. So hey, that's on paper that's pretty cool, but in theory or in reality, that's probably not going to be that too big of a change. General killer improvements. The average kill rates, how many survivors are killed each trial on average, are a little lower than we'd like. Oh! A sentiment echoed by many community members to ensure the killer feels like an unstoppable force to be feared. We're making slight improvements to make aspects of killer gameplay. We've reduced the time it takes to break walls and pallets by 10%, now 2.34 seconds, previously 2.6. Wow, hold on, wait, my brain. Wow, so it's going to be 10 second, and we still also have Brutal Strength, so that's going to make Brutal Strength more of a priority perk. Especially with the 10% increase. 10% is a big deal. You're probably looking at the numbers being like, what the fuck, this isn't even a big change. I play Smite. This is going to be a big change. Not only is it going to make the game feel a lot better, but it's going to make the game a lot faster. Generators can also be kicked 10% faster than before, now from 1.8, now 1.8 was 2 seconds. While this change may seem small, a fraction of the second can be the difference between hitting a survivor and them reaching a pallet. Wow. 10% faster on breaking the walls and hitting gens. Yo, Brutal Strength is gonna be sick. These are major changes. This is not only gonna make the game not 100 times faster, a lot faster, but it's also gonna make the game feel so much better. This is such a sick change. Next, we've reduced the cooldown for successful basic attacks by 10%. Now 2.7. What? That's insane. Wait, I need to keep reading. And reduce the duration of survivor speed boosts upon being hit by 10%. Now 1.8 was 2 seconds. Moving forward, survivors will gain slightly less distance upon being hit, making it more difficult for them to run long distances to a safe area. This change, is this real? This change is big. This is a big change. So not only is it going to be faster for us to basically hit walls and break gens, the distance between survivors, this is technically buffed to ranged killers. Ranged killers are going to have a fucking field day with this. This is, wow. That is insane. The distance is such an important key to DBD, whether or not a survivor is able to basically extend a chase. So this, while it is 0.2 seconds, that 0.2 second movement speed can be a very big deal. Especially the cooldown of our basic attacks when we successfully hit somebody. Again, this is just making the game 1,000 times faster. So basically this last change, without wasting too much time, they're changing Bloodlust. They're not changing Bloodlust, but they're technically buffing Bloodlust. So instead of you getting Bloodlust, T1 Bloodlust at 15 seconds, T2 Bloodlust at 30 seconds, and T3 Bloodlust at 45 seconds, you're going to be getting it, so T1 is going to be 15, T2 is going to be, instead of 30, 25, and T3 Bloodlust, instead of 45, 35 seconds. So this isn't too big of a change, especially at a high level. This isn't really going to be too big of a change, especially with the cooldown to the basic attacks, and also the movement speed, or not movement speed decrease, but the amount of distance they're able to get after they get hit. This isn't too big of a change, but for Bloodlust, I guess it is. It's okay. I mean, it's not that big of a change. It's an okay change, and it didn't really need to be changed, to be honest. Did it need to be changed? I don't know. But this is just, I guess it's just quality of life, you could say, for Bloodlust. So the next section, camping and tunneling. So I'm not going to read all this, I'm just going to read what they have at the bottom. Moving forward, survivors will receive a 5-second endurance effect after being hooked. This gives the unhooked survivors an opportunity to reach a nearby window or pallet, or for another survivor to position themselves for a protection hit. So basically, you have a 5-second base burrow time when you unhook a survivor. That means burrow time is going to be, that means burrow time is going to be changed. Wait, burrow time might be, hold up! Additionally, the unhooked survivors will receive a 7% haste effect for 5 seconds, so not that too big of a deal. This will make them harder to catch and encourage killers to shift focus to the unhooking survivor. So basically, this is a buff. Well, this is technically the endurance status effect, or the endurance effect, is basically a nerf to burrow time, since I don't know if burrow time got nerfed, but I know it will be changed. So 5 seconds of burrow time immediately when they get off a hook, and they get a 7% haste. So I guess it's just going to promote, you know, not tunneling or pretty much camping a survivor. Both effects will be cancelled prematurely if the unhooked survivor performs what we now call a conspicuous action. These are interactions other than being chased that would improve your chances of survival. This includes repairing a generator, healing yourself or others, cleansing or blessing a totem, sabotaging a hook, unhooking others, or opening an exit gate. With these base changes, we hope survivors can switch out the perks loadout without fear that camping tunnel will cut their match short. So yeah, so basically, I mean, this is, I guess it's just good to have. So basically, when you have that effect, if you work on a gen immediately when you get unhooked, these effects are going to be gone. I mean, it's only for 5 seconds, so the majority of the time this isn't going to be a difference. So at least it's saying like, hey, you immediately work on a gen, we're going to punish you for it. So, I mean, this is a good change for the game, especially on the survivor side, since burrow time is such a huge, has such huge implication. Well, implications in the meta. What the fuck is implications? I have no fucking idea. This is basically a nerf to burrow time, and pretty much another buff for killers. This is gonna make games, dude, this is just gonna make games a lot faster. Now this is the shit I've been waiting for, the meta perk changes. So I'm not gonna read all this, but we have a general idea of what meta perks are gonna be changed. Hold on, I kinda wanna look at this. Is this the graph? So is this the graph for survivor and this is the graph for killer? Hold up. Wow, so you guys are, if you guys see this graph, look at this. Dead Hard has the most pick rate next to burrow time. So this graph is going to be very important, because I'm telling you right now, if we're meta swifting this hard, perks that have an increased pick rate, like in any other game that's competitive, they're going to get nerfed. If a perk is being overused and having a really, really high success rate, you're going to see that perk nerfed from now on. Instead of having to wait like 5-6 months for a nerf or change to a specific perk. This is insane. So Dead Hard's number 1, Burrow Time number 2, Self Care number 3, Spine Chill number 4, Iron Will number 5. These perks are gonna get nerfed. These 5 perks, I think all these perks are actually getting nerfed, no? And then this right here is the killer pick rate. So wow, so Barbecue and Chili's number 1, Hex Ruin number 2, Hex No One Escapes Death number 3, Pop Goes the Weasel number 4, and Corrupt Intervention number 5, Scorcher Pain Resonance number 6. What the fuck is locked? I don't know what this is. What the fuck is locked? Am I drunk or am I drunk? This perk must be like a non-teachable, because I have no idea what the fuck locked is. Jolt. Wow, Jolt's in the list? That's surprising. Sloppy Butcher, Tinkerer, Nurse's Calling, Iron Grasp. So, yeah, so Barbecue, Hex Ruin. I'm surprised Hex Ruin is such a priority perk, since Hex Totem perks at a high level. are in such a bad spot. Wow, so Barbecue and Chili, Hex Ruin, Hex No One Escapes Death, Pop Goes the Weasel, and Corrupt Intervention are gonna get nerfed. That's the way I look at this list. Wow, that's very unexpected that the majority of people use No One Escapes Death, but I think with Hex, No One Escapes Death, if they do decide to nerf it, it's just gonna make the game 1,000 times healthier. So the first perk that's being changed, Barbecue and Chili, so without reading all this, basically, apparently the current, the reason why people picked Barbecue and Chili was to gain blood points, which I don't think, I mean, I didn't think that way. So they're basically removing pretty much the percentage of blood points you get with Barbecue and Chili, so not only are you not getting the bonus blood points, but you're just getting the vision with Barbecue and Chili. So the next perk that they're changing, Hex Ruin. This is a fucking huge nerf. So instead of the gen from 100 to 150 to 200% regression at T1, T2, and T3, it's being reduced to 50% at T1, 75% at T2, and 100% at T3. This is a massive nerf. Like, a ridiculous nerf. This, I'm not picking, there's no reason to use Hex Ruin anymore. Depending on how well the gen regression is, there is no reason to use Hex Ruin, because why use Hex Ruin when you can use Call LeBron? Call LeBron immediately made this perk absolutely dog shit. And not only that, when a survivor dies, Hex Ruin automatically deactivates. That means the majority of the time you're using Hex Ruin for the early game. And not only that, it's still a Hex Totem perk. Wow, this perk got nerfed to the ground. You're not gonna see this perk again at high MMR. This got nerfed to the ground. So the next perk being changed, Pop Goes the Weasel. So basically, this is not too big of a nerf. This is a nerf, but it's not a major nerf like Hex Ruin was. So Pop Goes the Weasel, instead of it being 25% regression, it's going to be a base 20% regression. And you add that on top of the 2.5 you get when hitting a generator, because now the change is if you hit a generator, they lose they lose 2.5% regression. So now Pop Goes the Weasel is technically at 22.5% of a gen. So you're losing what, 2.5% of regression. So that's not a major change. That's not a big change at all. That's a tiny nerf. Pop Goes the Weasel is still gonna be godlike. Oh wow, the next perk being nerfed, Corrupt Intervention. So instead of Corrupt Intervention being active for 180 seconds into the match, 180 or 160, I can't remember my brain. Instead of it being active for that long, this perk is basically gonna stay active until you down a survivor. So again, this is a at high MMR, you're probably not gonna run this perk, because the only reason you ran this perk was the duration of the closed gens that are further away from you. So now the fact that when we down a survivor, this is a weird perk now, because you can either get it down immediately in the match and you only have it for what, 25-30 seconds into the match, and then you're gone a perk slot. This is another major change. I think at a high level, this is not going to be used. Corrupt Intervention, while this is a very significant nerf, this is better for the lower end of the game, like the non-high MMR players. This is going to be better, but for high MMR, this is not going to be too big. This perk is going to be bad to use. So, damn, that's crazy. Corrupt Intervention got nerfed to the ground, to be honest. It's better at a lower level of play than it is a higher level of play. So the next perk being changed, Tinkerer. So basically they removed the effect on a singular gen, so you can't use Tinkerer and get the loud noise notification and the undetectable status effect multiple times with Tinkerer on one specific gen. So basically you can only use Tinkerer 5 times. That's going to make Tinkerer a very, very situational perk to use, and you probably are going to have to build a specific build around Tinkerer, since it's not going to be as godly as it was. Right? I don't even think it was godly. It's more better, or a lot better on high mobility killers. So this is another big nerf. This is going to be a very, very situational perk now. It says base charges increased to 90. I don't know what the fuck that means. But I'm guessing maybe you have a, instead of 70% progress on a gen, maybe the effect activates on a 50% or possibly 65%. I'm not too sure what they mean by that. But that's a pretty big nerf too. Wow, so you're only going to be able to use Tinkerer basically 5 times in a match. So the next perk being changed, Hex, no one escapes death. So surprisingly, they actually didn't touch this perk as hard as I thought they were going to. So with Hex, no one escapes death, now once the perk gets activated, survivors are going to be able to see the Hex Totem's aura within a 4 meters, pretty much within a 4 meter range upon activation. And then over 30 seconds, the range increases to 24 meters over the course of 30 seconds. So after 30 seconds, instead of 4 meters, that goes to 24 meters when Hex, no one escapes death, gets activated. So this is a pretty strong nerf. Again, nobody really uses this at high MMR, but for the lower end games, this is definitely going to be a huge nerf and pretty much negate apparently how strong NOED was, and going to be less annoying. This perk, this is another big nerf too. Not as big of a nerf as Hex Ruin or even Tinkerer. I know, is it? No, this is a pretty big nerf. No one escapes death in the late game, just got hit fucking hard. While it's definitely not going to be as good at the lower ends of play, and still not going to be good at high MMR. So yeah, I mean, I didn't use NOED, so that's a good nerf. The next perk being changed, Scourge Hook, Pain, Resonance. So basically what they did, this is a nerf. They basically removed the loud noise notification you get when putting somebody on a Scourge Hook. So you still get that instant 15% regression, but basically you're not going to be able to get the vision that you were before, which makes sense. Is it going to make the perk a lot worse? So basically you're not going to get the vision proc or the screen. So if you do use Scourge Hook, Pain, Resonance, you're not going to be able to see what gen they're on. So you're basically it doesn't force you to go back to see if they were on that gen to be able to get your Pop Goes the Weasel proc if you are rocking Pop Goes the Weasel with this perk. But Scourge Hook, Pain, Resonance, still going to be, I think it's still going to be good. It's just you're not going to get that vision and information that you were previously. So I mean, overall, I think this is a pretty good change. I think that vision was a little too much, and especially with the changes they're making with Killer, this nerf makes a lot of sense. Alright, men, women, children of all ages, I just clap my hands because you know why? The nerf finally came. Dead Hard has officially been nerfed. So instead of you getting the movement speed or the mini dash that you would with Dead Hard, you're still going to get the immunity frames that you get from Dead Hard, but instead of you getting that huge mini dash, you're not getting that mini dash anymore. You're just getting the immunity frames. And not only that, when you Dead Hard, you get the endurance status effect for 1 second, so you do get movement speed for 1 second. Was it after you Dead Hard? Yeah, so immediately when you activate Dead Hard, you get the endurance for 1 second. That's huge, because not only can I bait and still get that basic attack without them having to get that fucking cheap mini dash. Dead Hard's gonna be absolutely dog shit now? Nah. Dead Hard is still gonna be decent, and it's gonna definitely take a lot more skill to use. But Dead Hard now, you're definitely gonna be seeing a much more variety of perks or exhaustion perks being used instead of Dead Hard solely. This was, without killing the perk, this was a very, very good change, making it a little bit more of a... It'll take a lot more skill to use than it did previously. Not saying that it didn't, to be honest, it didn't really take much skill to use previously, but now you're really gonna have to figure out like how you want to use this perk. This is a really good change. This is a really good change and gonna make the game a lot healthier, especially for killers. The next survivor perk being changed, which is absolutely massive. This is a big nerf. Decisive Strike, not as big as Dead Hard, but Decisive Strike is being nerfed. So instead of Decisive, so basically what they're doing is if you power the exit gates, if the survivors power the exit gates, you cannot use Decisive Strike anymore. And not only that, instead of the stun being from 5 seconds, or stun being 5 seconds, it's now reduced to 3 seconds. And also, again, if you work on a gen, do any sort of objectives, Decisive Strike will be deactivated as it was previously. This nerf is a big nerf, especially for the late game, because at high MMR, Decisive Strike is definitely such a key, pretty much a key game plan in Survivor's, as a key thing in Survivor's game plan in the late game, because Decisive Strike does not only guarantee that you're going to be able to escape once you get into the end game collapse or even late game, when the exit gates are powered, yeah, so during the endgame collapse, not only does Decisive pretty much guarantee that you get a free escape, that's not going to be the case anymore. And not only that, that stun from 5 seconds to 3 seconds is a very heavy nerf, because not only, this is another buff to ranged killers, not only is it going to reduce the distance that survivors are going to have and then reduce the amount of time survivors are going to have to run away, but this is a huge change at high level. You might not see Decisive Strike being used as frequently as you do now, or even at all. Decisive Strike has officially been... this nerf is huge. So the next perk that's being changed is Burrow Time. So basically, actually Burrow Time, this is technically a buff. So instead of Burrow Time, I think it lasts 15 seconds at base. It's going to be lasting 6 at T1, 8 seconds at T2, and 10 seconds at T3. But not only that, you're also going to be getting a movement speed bonus for an additional 10 seconds on top of the 5 seconds of the pretty much endurance status. I'm going to call it endurance status effect. So this is Burrow Time is basically the same as it was previously, except now it increases the amount of movement speed you get. So survivors, instead of getting tunneled, you're officially now going to be able to pretty much escape. But if you do a gen or do any sort of objectives during that duration, during the 15 seconds you have your movement speed and your Burrow Time, you're going to be able to get hit. So this is the perk didn't get changed too hard. The only thing that it's kind of like a slight buff, because you are getting an additional 10 seconds of that movement speed. So technically a buff, but Burrow Time is still, you're probably still going to be seeing this perk used a lot, especially at high MMR. Probably going to be seeing this perk still used the same amount you are now, unless there's one perk that's ridiculously broken. Burrow Time is still in a good spot. This is another huge survivor nerf. The next perk that's being nerfed on the survivor side, Iron Will. So instead of your Grunt of Pain being hidden for pretty much 100% at T3, it's now being reduced to 25% at T1, 50% at T2, and 75% at T3. And additionally, Iron Will won't activate if you're exhausted. This is a major nerf that not only... This is a buff to Spirit. You can play Spirit now at high MMR. Iron Will is officially... This is such a big nerf, since Iron Will just gave you so much power at such little... This perk was too strong. Now you're going to be able to heal survivors. So if you have, like, as Dr. Disrespect would say, you have a Turtle Beach headset. Do people even have Turtle Beach headset? Dude, I remember back in like 2000... I'm getting off topic. Iron Will is... This is a big nerf. Not only for high MMR play, but even on the lower ends of play as well. Iron Will will be less of a pain in the ass to go against and be a lot more fair at a high level. This is a huge nerf and will make Spirit a lot better. Wow, and another huge survivor change. Self-care is the next perk that's being changed. So instead of, I don't know what the base kit is, 50% speed. So instead of healing yourself at 50% the progress, at T1, it's going to be 25%, at T2, 30%, and at T3, 35%. And not only that, the item efficiency bonus to when you're healing with an item has been removed entirely. Yo! So not only is it going to take you longer to heal with self-care, it's also a huge nerf to medkits. Medkits lasted as long as they did because of self-care, and now with the self-care nerf, not only is it going to take them longer to heal, so you're not going to see self-care used as much either at high MMR. Wow, so this promotes survivors healing each other. Yo, self-care this is kind of similar to the Boon Circle of Healing nerf. Self-care got nerfed ridiculously hard. This is a big nerf, especially at high levels of play. You're not going to be seeing self-care as much as you are now, and I think people are going to probably use We're Gonna Live Forever or We'll Make It a lot more. 100% a lot more. Now with the last survivor perk that's being changed, Spine Chill. So this is technically a nerf. So Spine Chill now only activates if you have a clear line of sight, or if the killer has a clear line of sight on the survivors, this is a huge nerf. And not only that, Next we'll be adding a short 0.5 seconds lingering effect to spine chill. So basically it's going to take 0.5 seconds for you to be able to get the spine chill effect, or the icon flickering. So if you do get the effect, you're going to have to wait 0.5 seconds, and then you're going to have to get it again if the survivor has a line of sight of you. Not only... Wait, what? And they're removing the vault speed bonus entirely? They're keeping the gen speed bonus, but they're removing the vault speed bonus. Oh, this perk got nerfed hard! So not only... The biggest change of this perk is the line of sight of the killer and survivor. So now spine chill is only going to proc if the killer has a line of sight of you, or if the survivor has a line of sight of the killer. This change not only is nerfing gen rushing, or depending, this is also going to be map dependent, so this is going to be better on open maps. But is it going to be? No, this is an overall nerf in general, even if you are playing on an open map. While on open maps, it's still going to be somewhat decent. This perk got heavily nerfed, especially with the vault speed bonus. This perk is going to be, again, not seen as frequently as you do now, especially at high MMR. High MMR, you're probably not even going to see this perk. Now we're going into non-meta perk. Oh my, hold up. Yo, I'm getting excited. The first non-meta perk that got buffed. Overcharged. Yo. Oh, this is insane. Along with its current effects, Overcharge will cause a kicked generator's regression speed to grow from 100% to 400% over the course of 30 seconds. Survivors will want to stop this generator from regressing as soon... This is Call of Brine on fucking steroids. And Call of Brine, mind you, did not get changed. Call of Brine with Overcharge now? That might be the new meta. Overcharged? This is insane. While 30 seconds might seem not that big of a... 30 seconds doesn't seem as big of a deal as you would think, because the majority of the time, within the 15 seconds, survivors are going to be able to gen tap or work on the gen within those 30 seconds for the majority of the time. But on big maps, not only if you're playing the Red Forest with Overcharge, Overcharge is going to be godlike. On smaller maps, Overcharge isn't going to be as useful, but dude, that 100% to 400% over 30 seconds is... This is a massive buff, and it's definitely going to make Overcharge... You're going to see this perk in the meta 100%. There's no way. So the next non-meta perk that's being changed, this is a huge buff. This is a killer perk, Eruption. So not only did they change the amount of regression Eruption gets when it activates, it's going to be 10% of that generator. And not only that, the duration of the incapacitated status effect is going to last 15 at T1, 20 at T2, and 25 at T3. Eruption, this is a huge buff. This is a massive fucking buff, because I thought Eruption was already, you know, in a good spot, but this just makes it in pretty much an even better spot. I can't even talk because this buff is so fucking massive. Not only is it going to promote hitting a gen, but characters that have really fast, pretty much downtime, Eruption is going to be godlike. If you're using this on Nemesis, Huntress, any characters that can get quick and easy downs, this is going to... I have no words. Eruption is going to be sick. This perk... God, this perk is good. This perk is good. The next non-meta perk that's being changed, or technically buffed, I think these are all buffs. Coulrophobia. This buff, oh my god. So Coulrophobia will now increase the speed of skill checks by 50% on top of its current effect. So not only if they're within your tear radius, they're going to heal for 50% slower, but not only that, if they're within your tear radius and they're working on a gen, the skill checks are going to be 50% faster. This is going to be really good. You could probably rock this on Deathslinger, since Deathslinger does have a 32-meter tear radius. This perk on Doctor, while this perk on Doctor was already somewhat decent, but not really worth the perk slot at high MMR, this perk on Doctor is going to be absolutely insane. Especially with that massive tear radius. Any character that has a 32-meter tear radius is going to be... This is a really good perk. I don't know how you're going to fit it in your build, but Coulrophobia now is a really good perk to use. The next non-meta killer perk that's being changed, this is huge. Jolt, or slash Surge, I'm still gonna call it Surge. So now Jolt basically doesn't have a cooldown to its regression. So you're getting an 8% every single time you down a survivor. Not, yo, I even said it. I told you in the previous video, I was like, yo, if they made Jolt just not have any cooldown at all, Jolt would be insane. Jolt is officially, I'd rather use this than Pop Goes the Weasel, to be honest. With that slight Pop Goes the Weasel nerf, I mean, maybe I still want to use this with Pop Goes the Weasel, I'm not too sure, but Jolt, as of now, with this buff, when the patch comes out, Jolt is going to be so much better and be a lot more reliable once you get into the late game. This is definitely going to be one of the best late game perks at high MMR in the entire game, without a doubt. The next killer perk that's being buffed, Scourge Hook, Gift of Pain. So previously, I don't remember what the previous numbers were. I think it was 12% reduced action speed at T3 if I'm not mistaken, but I'm not too sure. But they're increasing the action speed penalty to 10% at T1, 13% at T2, and 16% at T3. While this change, I mean, Scourge Hook, Gift of Pain, I guess if you could rock this with Thanotaphobia, since with this killer buff, or with the killer being buffed, you're gonna have a lot more options when it comes to builds. So you can pair this up with probably Thanotaphobia. Wait, no, they're nerfing. Are they buffing Thanotaphobia? Hold up. Holy shit. As of right now, with this Thanotaphobia that we have now, if you use this Gift of Pain, I guess it could work, but I don't think you're gonna be seeing this too often at high MMR, but it's possible because the next perk that's being buffed, Thanotaphobia. Wow, so I think at T1, so okay, wait. So for each survivor injured, we are increasing the action speed penalty, so one survivor is going to be 4.5 actions, wait, what? 4.5 at T1, 5% at T2, 5.5% at T3 per survivor. So at we're going to just talk about the T3 versions. So 5.5% reduced action speed for one survivor to a maximum of 22% at T3. Oh. Okay. Thanotaphobia just got thick. Wow, so this is a big buff, especially since we just talked about the Scourge Hook Gift of Pain buff. You pair this up with Scourge Hook Gift of Pain, they're not going to be able to play the game. Wow, so that's insane. 22% at T3 and 5.5% per survivor is a massive buff. You put this on Legion, Plague, this is a big buff. You're definitely going to be seeing Thanotaphobia. While there are going to be a lot of options for killers at high MMR. Thanotaphobia and Scourge Hook Gift of Pain just got really good, really good all of a sudden. So now that we got through all the killer changes, it's time to go to the survivor perk buffs. And the first perk, Calm Spirit. So in addition to Calm Spirit's current effects, you can now open chests and cleanse and bless totems silently, but at a 30% reduced action speed. So it's not a nerf. This is technically a buff, but this is kind of like a buff nerf, because like, even though you do have Calm Spirit's current effects, if you're rocking Boon Circle of Healing or like anything that involves chests, or even wanting to open a chest, you're gonna have to do it 30% slower. That's like, that's a nerf. I would say that's technically a nerf, dude. So the next survivor perk that's being changed, I don't know if this is a huge, holy shit, this is a huge buff. Off the record. Upon being unhooked, gain the endurance status effect for 60, 70 to 80 seconds at T3. The endurance effect is lost upon performing a conspicuous action, so if you're doing any sort of objective, you're gonna lose the endurance status effect, but this is a huge nerf to tunneling, specifically tunneling. That 80 seconds, so this might, now that I'm looking at it, this can be better used, I think, with a survive with friends group than it is for solo queue. It's going to be really, really good if you are solo queuing, just to make sure and guarantee that you don't get tunneled. But this, off the record, is going to be godlike. On to the next survivor perk that's being buffed, Lucky Break. So, wow, so on top of Lucky Break's pretty much effect, if you perform every second that you spend healing another survivor, increases Lucky Break's duration by 1 second. So you can replenish Lucky Break instead of it being, I think it's 40 seconds. I think it was 60 seconds, but I think now it's 40 seconds of you not making any noise, leaving any scratch marks at all or anything. Wow, so Lucky Break, this is a big buff, because not only with all the perks that are, we're going into a meta swift that basically is, you're going to want to heal your teammates instead of healing yourself. So Lucky Break, you're definitely at high MMR, you're definitely going to be seeing this perk. Now, if you rock Lucky Break with Will Make It, it's not going to be as effective, so you probably, this is probably going to prevent a lot of people from rocking Lucky or Will Make It, or even Lucky Break, vice versa. But I think Lucky Break, having the ability to be able to replenish the effect, is going to be sick. While it might not be as good as some of the other buffs that we've seen previously, I think it's still going to be a good change and make the perk a lot more viable than it is now. The next survivor perk that's being buffed, trust me, we're almost done, we're almost there. Dark Sense. So when a generator is powered, Dark Sense activates. The next time the killer comes within a 24-meter range of you, the aura or their aura is revealed for 5, 7 to 10 seconds at T3. Then Dark Sense deactivates. So this actually situational perk. I guess it's a good perk to use if you are facing a stealth killer, but again, a very situational perk. I don't know if it's still worth a perk slot, but I guess you can't really predict when you're facing a stealth killer, but Dark Sense against stealth characters is going to be really annoying to play against. So a good change, and I think overall a good perk, but very, very situational. Finally, the last survivor perk that's being buffed, We're Gonna Live Forever. So they pretty much gave it a barbecue and chili treatment and removed the additional blood points that you get, and additionally, actions that previously granted a token will now activate the perk's second effect, or secondary effect. While active, healing a survivor from the dying state grants the endurance effect for 6 seconds at T1, 8 seconds at T2, and 10 seconds at T3. The secondary effect of We're Gonna Live Forever then deactivates. So if I'm not mistaken, isn't We're Gonna Live Forever, and when you heal somebody or you're performing a healing action, you perform a healing action a lot faster and you consume one of the tokens. So if I had to guess, while you're healing a survivor, let's say you get interrupted mid-heal, they're going to gain the endurance status effect, which means if they get hit, they become, they would have to mend themselves. So I mean, that's actually a pretty good buff, because We're Gonna Live Forever, with all the changes, you're going to see We're Gonna Live Forever a lot more. So I mean, this is actually a pretty good buff, especially at high MMR. You're probably going to see this a lot more often at high MMR, to be honest. Alrighty guys, well that's it for me. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really freaking appreciate it. I knew, I was actually waiting for this to come out so I can actually go over the patch notes. God damn it, pray for me, dude, because this is going to take me a while to edit. But hopefully you guys enjoyed. I don't know if I'm going to be doing this too often, but with a major change like this, I definitely wanted to go over the changes, because I'm ridiculously as curious as you guys are just to see what the new meta swift, because this is maybe one of the biggest changes to the meta in Dead by Daylight's history. So I'm beyond excited, and I think it's definitely going to make the game a lot more healthier. And with this change, this is hopefully a step in the right direction for not only better balance, but more consistent balance to stuff that are overused or even overtuned. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. I love you guys. Tomorrow we'll have a gameplay up, and then I'll let you guys know what I'm gonna do this weekend, because this is gonna take me a long time to edit. Hopefully you guys enjoy. I love you guys, and I will see you guys in the next one. Goodbye and good night.